I am at the Chelsea Moravian Chapel on the King's Road, and I'm just having an amazing chat to Claire Maxwell. Claire, do you want to just explain what your role is and just anything you want to just say about this place? It's quite an unusual and very special place with incredible history. So, any things you just want to let me know. But who are you first, and how are you connected here?
So first of all, I am the minister of the Fetter Lane Moravian Church, and we have our chapel here and our graveyard here. Our graveyard's been here since the mid 1700s, so it's incredibly old. But our chapel moved here in the 1960s again, after we'd been bombed out in the war when we were originally in Fetter Lane in the city of London. I'm also the pioneer minister for this area for the Moravian Church, and we focus on an art-based ministry with families in that role.
Cool, amazing. And one of the most colourfully dressed members of clergy that I've met.
I try.
A lot more fun than some outfits, I'd say. So, and so I came up here particularly hoping just to find. I can't say a good friend of mine because I don't know him personally, but a very famous chap called Peter Boehler, who's amazing influence on the two Wesley brothers. So, do you know anything you can say about him and some of the other people who are kind of here, are actually buried here and so on?
Sure. So Peter Boehler was a bishop of the Moravian Church and was very influential on the Wesleys' thinking. In particular, there was a conversation that followed, I think it was John Wesley, that was very helpful in terms of discerning that he needed more in his spiritual life than he currently had. And Peter Boehler was a source that John Wesley and I believe Charles kind of came back to again and again to kind of feed their souls. He's famous, I guess, because he was part of that group at the Fetter Lane Society. He was part of the new evangelical revival that was going on in England at the time of the 1700s, and was committed to that revival, although obviously from Germany did spend time here and also travelled in missionary work too around the world. So Peter Boehler is understood as being quite an important figure in our church, although obviously we do hold the value that everybody is created equal, and so we don't kind of try and mark his grave out too significantly against others, as that's one of our traditions. Everyone's grave should look the same, as we're equal in life and death. We've also got buried here Senec. John Senec was a famous missionary who died at the age of 36 years. He founded a lot of communities, particularly around the Western District of England and also in Northern Ireland, and essentially burned out in London. He caught a fever and sadly died, but his work and his legacy is sort of renowned, particularly the Moravian Church, but different Methodist churches did their history. There's a lot of chapels that actually started with a Senec-based ministry. We've got a few others. We've got James Cook, who was the captain of the Harmony ship, which was a very famous mission ship that used to go from the north sort of towards Scotland and then up and round towards Canada. Apparently, the legend goes it never ever sank. I'm not actually sure if that's 100% true, but James Cook kind of was the person who captained that ship for many, many years, I think including the last voyage as well. So he's buried here. Lots of children seem to like that story the most because they like the idea of a ship sailing. And we've got all sorts. We've got Benjamin Latrobe, we've got Christian Renatus Sinsendorf, who's the son of Sinsendorf, who's buried here somewhere. And then we've also got children, we call them Inuit children now. We've got a number of graveyards that are marked with an Eskimo child, which is from the era when people used to travel to England for various reasons. Sometimes very honourable reasons, and sometimes sadly people got caught up in travelling to the UK and to England and then going on to shows to be showcased, which was not something the Moravians supported, but Moravian ministers and church congregations used to provide pastoral support to those people caught up in those issues as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's enormously helpful and really, really interesting, and a beautiful day here in Chelsea.
Yeah.
And so this was like kind of the towards the end of the the time of Zinzendorf, wasn't he? He came from Germany to here, I think, didn't he? And
Yes.
did he finish his days
So
here?
he was trying to build here. This is called Sharon amongst Moravians, but he was building originally here a new settlement community akin to Hernhut, between here and the river, so quite a number of blocks away. And he had Lindsay House, which is on the river, as sort of the missionary headquarters. But then unfortunately when Zinzendorf died, this vision for Sharon couldn't be realised, as Zinzendorf actually left a lot of debt. He was a great missionary, maybe a great preacher, but perhaps not so good at keeping the finances in stock. So a lot of that land had to be sold, but this was already in place and so was kept. But its original purpose was supposed to be part of this bigger community. Zinzendorf did come to London. He came to London a few times because Zinzendorf's vision was that the Moravian Church was not called that at that time. It was the aim and idea was never to be a separate church. Actually, in Hernhut was kind of embodying that. It was supposed to be a place where people could go spiritually, but they were not supposed to separate from their own church. They were supposed to revive their own church settings, and so I don't think Zinzendorf was that pleased with the Fetter Lane Society and the fact that it decided to kind of go for a status of a separate church. And so he came at various points to try and negotiate that and ensure really that Parliament was still happy with us. And that's why kind of we're one of the first, if not the first, churches to be registered separate to the state church in this country, because of Zinzendorf's work to ensure that we were acceptable. People like James Hutton, who is also buried here, I think were a little bit less concerned of being okay with the establishment, whereas that was a chief concern for Zinzendorf, who obviously was a count back in Germany.
Oh wow, that's amazing! Thank you so much for your time,
No worries.
and really helpful. And a quick sort of shot round and stuff. So this is a beautiful churchyard, and thank you so much for giving us your time and telling us a lot more really fascinating details as well. Thanks. All right, bye.